It's late, later than you meant it to be. You pour yourself a drink, kill the overhead light, and put on the saddest song you own, the one that always gets you. You take the first sip, and something happens. It hits deeper than usual, richer, heavier. Like the drink and the song are somehow made of the same thing. And for a second, the whole room feels honest in a way it doesn't at noon. You've probably filed that away as a mood, a vibe. Just you being a little dramatic at 1 in the morning. But here's the strange part. It is not only in your head. Scientists have sat people down in almost exactly this situation. A drink in one hand, music playing, and actually measured what happens to the taste. And what they found is weirder than you'd guess. The music doesn't just set the scene around the glass. It reaches into the glass and physically changes how the drink tastes, but not in the direction you think. And that twist is the whole story. Let's start with the experiment that nails it. A team of researchers led by Felipe Reinoso-Carvalho, working with the Oxford taste scientist Charles Spence, took one single beer, the exact same beer, same batch, same everything, and had people taste it in 2 different worlds of sound. Half the time, a piece of music engineered to feel positive and upbeat was playing. The other half, a track built to feel negative and sad. Same beer, 2 very different verdicts. When people drank it with the sad, negative music, they rated that beer as more bitter, as feeling stronger, like it had more alcohol in it and as having more body, more weight on the tongue. When they drank the identical beer with the happy, positive music, it flipped. Now the beer tasted sweeter, and crucially, people liked it more. Nothing about the liquid had changed, not the recipe, not the temperature, not the pour. The only thing that moved in the entire experiment was the emotion of the sound in the room. And that by itself was enough to shift how bitter, how strong, and how heavy that beer felt going down. Taste, it turns out, is not a fixed fact about a drink. It's a story your brain assembles on the spot, and the music is holding one of the pens. Read that again, because it quietly demolishes the thing you thought was happening. Sad music did not make the drink taste better. It made it taste harsher, stronger, more bitter. If anything, it was the happy music that made the drink pleasant and sweet. So when you're sitting there at 1 a.m. convinced your whiskey has never gone down so beautifully, the science says that sad song is actually making it burn, which raises an obvious problem. If the sad version tastes more bitter and more intense, why on earth does it feel so good? Why do you keep choosing it? Hold that question, because it's where this gets genuinely interesting. But first, you need to understand the trick underneath all of it, how a sound can possibly change a flavor in the first place, because that shouldn't be possible. Taste happens in your mouth, music happens in your ears. Those are 2 completely different senses, 2 organs, 2 different signals, and yet they bleed into each other constantly in a phenomenon researchers call sonic seasoning. Charles Spence and his lab have spent years pinning this down, and the results are almost comical in how specific they are. High-pitched sounds, tinkling piano, bright little bells, high strings reliably make people taste more sweetness. Low, deep, brassy sounds, a tuba, a growling cello, a bass drone, push the same food toward bitter. In one classic test, they gave people a bittersweet toffee and simply changed the sound. With the sweet, high-pitched music, the toffee tasted sweeter. With the bitter, low music, the same toffee tasted more bitter. Nobody changed the candy, they changed the song. And it works on coffee, on chocolate, on wine, on beer. Your brain, it turns out, does not keep your senses in separate boxes. It's constantly blending them into a single experience. And sound is one of the ingredients it stirs in without asking you. A low, melancholy song isn't just background. To your tongue, it's a seasoning, and the flavor it adds is bitterness. And this isn't just a lab curiosity. High-end restaurants and even airlines have been quietly using it for years, pairing a specific soundtrack with a specific dish to nudge how it tastes. There's a famous seafood course that's served with the sound of crashing ocean waves played through a little pair of headphones. And diners swear the seafood tastes fresher, brighter, more like the sea itself. The kitchen never touched the food. It seasoned your ears and let your brain do the cooking. Once you know the effect is real, you start noticing that the atmosphere of a nice bar was never just decoration. It's an ingredient. So now you can see the first layer of what's happening on that late night. Sad songs tend to be low, slow, heavy. Minor keys, deep tones, the sonic signature of bitter. Your brain reads that sound and quietly turns up the bitterness and the strength of whatever's in your glass. The drink genuinely tastes different. You weren't imagining it. You just had the direction backwards. But here's the thing. You are not a taste tester sipping a careful measured sample in a lab. You are drinking, and that changes everything. Because now, a second, much heavier force enters the room. The alcohol itself. Back in 1990, two psychologists, Claude Steele and Robert Josephs, described something they called alcohol myopia. Myopia means short-sightedness, and that's exactly what alcohol does to your attention. It doesn't just make you tipsy, it narrows your mental spotlight. Sober, your mind is juggling 100 things at once. The time, tomorrow, that text you didn't answer, the dishes, the noise outside. Alcohol shrinks that spotlight down until it lands on whatever is loudest and most immediate in the moment, and it lets everything at the edges fade to nothing. So think about what's loudest in that room at 1 a.m. It's the feeling, the sad song, and the emotion it's pulling out of you. Alcohol takes your already narrowing focus and jams it onto that one thing. The ache, the memory, the beautiful heaviness of the music, and deletes the distractions that would normally dilute it. The drink isn't just seasoning the mood anymore. The alcohol is deleting everything that isn't the mood. This is the same reason a sad song you'd only half notice while sober can absolutely flatten you 2 drinks in. The alcohol hasn't made the song any sadder. It's just made everything else in your life quieter until that song is the only thing left in the room. And that's why the whole thing collapses into one dense, vivid experience. The bitter taste your brain built from the low music, the sad emotion the song is generating, and the alcohol narrowing your entire world down to just those 2 things. They stop being separate. They fuse. The drink tastes like the feeling tastes like the drink, and it all feels incredibly, almost unbearably real. Which finally answers the question from a few minutes ago. If sad music makes the drink more bitter, why does it feel so good?
Because you were never actually chasing delicious. You were chasing resonance. There's a genuine puzzle that has bugged psychologists for decades. Why do human beings enjoy sad music at all? You spend most of your life trying to avoid feeling sad, and then, on a quiet night, you deliberately put sadness into your own ears and press play. It makes no sense on the surface. One well-known idea from the researcher David Huron suggested that sad music tricks the brain into releasing a comforting hormone called prolactin, a kind of consolation chemical your body normally sends out when you're hurting, to soften the blow, leaving you with a warm, bittersweet glow instead of raw pain. It's a lovely theory, though later tests, including work by Ledineg and colleagues, couldn't clearly confirm the prolactin part, so the exact chemistry is still being argued over. But you don't need the chemistry pinned down to feel the effect, and researchers have found other pieces of it too, that a big part of the pleasure is simply being moved, that flood of goosebumps and tenderness, and that people who are more open to their emotions tend to enjoy sad music the most. Whatever the mechanism, the payoff is the same. Sadness, held at a safe distance and framed as something beautiful, stops being a threat and becomes something you can actually savor. It feels less like suffering and more like being deeply understood. And a bitter drink fits that perfectly. When you're in a heavy, wistful mood, a sweet and cheerful flavor would feel like a lie. A bitter, strong, serious drink feels true. It matches. The harshness isn't a flaw in the moment. It's the point. Your mouth and your mood are finally agreeing on something. That agreement, that congruence, is the so good you feel. It was never about the taste being pleasant. It was about the taste telling the truth. So what do you actually do with all this? A few things, and they're more useful than they sound. First, you now hold a real dial on your own experience. If you want a drink, or honestly any food, to taste softer, sweeter, easier, put on something bright and high and upbeat, and watch the edges round off. If you want it to taste deeper and more intense, go low and slow and melancholy. You are not stuck with whatever's in the glass. Half the flavor is in the air, and you control the air. It sounds like a party trick, and it kind of is, but it's a real one. A harsh, cheap wine can be nudged towards smoother. A coffee that's too bitter can be rounded off with the right bright playlist. You've been leaving a completely free ingredient on the table your entire life, and it was sitting in your headphones the whole time. Second, the next time a drink at a bar or a restaurant tastes unusually amazing, notice the soundtrack before you credit the bartender. A lot of what you're paying for in a well-designed room is the sound quietly seasoning your food. That's not a scam. It's just worth knowing that your tongue has a co-pilot you never hired. The lighting, the glassware, the playlist, a well-designed room is quietly cooking your drink for you, and the price on the menu reflects it. And third, the honest one. That same narrowing focus, the alcohol myopia that makes the sad song in a drink feel so profound, is the exact mechanism that makes drinking on a low night so easy to sink into. The spotlight that collapses everything down to the ache is beautiful for one glass and heavy song. It's also how one glass quietly becomes four, because the part of you that would normally say that's enough is out there in the dark at the edge of the spotlight, where you can no longer see it. Knowing the trick is how you keep the trick from running.
So the next time it's late and the light is low and the song is sad and the drink hits deeper than it has any right to, enjoy it. It's one of the strangely beautiful things a human brain can do. But know what's really in the glass. The drink never changed. The song reached in and re-seasoned it. The alcohol deleted everything that wasn't the feeling. And you sat there in the dark, sipping a cocktail of sound and chemistry and memory, and called it the taste. It was so much more than the taste.